Hello everyone, my name is Morgan Hitchcock. For my humanities project, I picked Michelangelo. So let's get started by talking a little bit about Michelangelo himself. He was born on March 6th, 1475 in Caprice, Italy. He lived most of his life in Rome, where he died on February 18th, 1564 at the age of 88. Michelangelo was a painter, sculptor, architect, and a poet. He was also one of the most famous artists of the Italian Renaissance. He was born into a family of banking and financial business, but showed interest in painting and sculpturing, and soon became to apprentice a famous painter before studying in the sculpture gardens of the Medici family. Some of his famous works of art would be the statue of David in Pieta, also the Sistine Chapel ceilings that includes the creation of Adam. Moving on to early life, Michelangelo's father served as a magistrate where Michelangelo was born. They soon moved to Florence when he was just an infant, and while they resided there, Michelangelo showed interest in painting, where he would watch painters at nearby churches. He was introduced to Domenico Ghirlandaio by a friend, and Michelangelo's father soon came to realize that he was not interested in the family financial business, so he agreed to let him apprentice him, the famous painter, at the age of 13. Michelangelo spent only about a year at the workshop of Domenico Ghirlandaio when he was given an opportunity to move into the palace of Lorenzo the Magnificent of the Medici family. There he studied sculpture in the Medici gardens from the years 1489 to 1492 under the provision of Bertoldo di Giovanni, who exposed him to poets, scholars, and famous humanists. All of these influences gave Michelangelo the foundation of his distinctive style and led him to create the sculptures of Battle of the Centaurs and Madonna seated on the step, all at the age of 16. Here is a picture of the Medici Gardens, a few pictures. And on the left is the Battle of the Centaurs, and on the right is the Madonna sitting on a step. One of his most famous pieces would be Pieta. He was at the age of 22 when he created Pieta, which was a famous sculpture of Mary holding the dead corpse of Jesus across her lap. There's a serenity about this work that is uplifting indeed, but a little removed from an effort to capture in marble a most extreme human emotion. It shows tension between classism and passion. He also carved his signature in Mary's chest so that it could be identified as his original work and not as someone else's. One of his other famous works would be the statue of David. He took over commission over it due to the fact that it was abandoned on numerous occasions. But once he took over commission for it, he turned it into a dominating human figure measuring about 17 feet high. David depicts a human being in godlike terms that is physically perfect in every aspect. It represents the biblical hero of David and is a favorite subject in the art of Florence. David has also become one of the most recognized works of the Renaissance and is a big symbol of strength and youthful beauty. Another famous piece by Michelangelo is the Sistine Chapel ceilings. The opportunity was given to him in 1508 when Pope Julius II asked him to kind of switch gears and be a part of decorating the ceiling. Although Michelangelo considered himself strictly as a sculptor and not a painter, he still accepted the challenge and spent about 4 years painting the whole ceiling. The work later had to be completely removed due to the fact that there was fungus growing in the plaster. So he fired all of his assistants and began to finish the ceiling alone, finishing it on October 31st, 1512. The work on the Sistine Chapel ceilings was so miserable and uncomfortable for him that he decided to write harsh poems about it. Anyway, there are different sections of the ceiling's paintings and might actually depict a human brain. The section of the creation of Adam presents God and Adam reaching for each other. Some theorists think that the scene contains unmistakable outlines of the human brain formed by angels in robes surrounding God, although Michelangelo meant to evoke God's bestowal of intelligence on the first human. And then Michelangelo unveiled the Last Judgment on the far wall of the Sistine Chapel. Of course, there was an immediate outcry about the inappropriate nude figures being on such a holy place. People called out for destruction on his largest fresco, and such as examples as this, Michelangelo has had a lot of conflicts in his work. Here are these ceilings. You can see that they're really detailed. Here's the creation of Adam. Michelangelo died on February 18th, 1564 due to illness. His nephew brought his body back to Florence to be laid to rest at the Basilica di Santa Croce, which was Michelangelo's chosen place of burial. Michelangelo, unlike many other artists, has achieved fame and fortune during his lifetime. Appreciation of his creations and artistic mastery has been quite endured for centuries, with his name going down in history with the best of the Italian Renaissance. Here's my works cited page. Let's go back. I have a video to show you. It's just a short summary on everything that I covered for you guys.
What you doing, Carl?
Just adjusting Murphy's cameras. He's our home security system.
I've got Cox Home Life. I can...
Michelangelo Buonarroti was a great artistic genius and was often referred to as Il Divino, or the Divine One. An Italian sculptor, painter, architect and poet, his numerous works include the Statue of David, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and the Pieta. He was raised in Florence and encouraged by an important Florentine patron of the arts known as Lorenzo de' Medici. Michelangelo completed the Pieta at the age of 24, a statue of the Virgin Mary holding the body of Christ. The Florentine Office of Works hired Michelangelo to carve a block of marble into what became the Statue of David, a symbol of Florentine freedom. During this period, Michelangelo painted the Holy Family and St. John, also known as the Doni Tondo, or the Holy Family of the Tribune. In 1508, Michelangelo began work on the Sistine Chapel in Rome. The newly elected Pope Julius II hired Michelangelo to paint the nearly 6,000 square foot ceiling. It took nearly 4 years to complete. Michelangelo proposed that he paint a scheme representing creation, the fall of man, and the promise of salvation. In the late 1540s, Michelangelo took on several important projects, including the construction of the Palazzo Farnese, sculpting the Florentine Pieta, and designing St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, in addition to other projects. As Michelangelo grew into his later years, he worked on design drawings and models for his architectural projects. He died in 1564 and was buried in the Basilica of Santa Croce in Florence.